Yes, hello there and welcome to today's episode of Weekend Rewind. Yes, this is when we put our hands back into the Join Up Dots vaults, swirl it around a bit and find an episode that maybe has got lost in the midst of time. And this is in response to the amount of requests we get from people who say, David, with all the episodes you've released, where should we start? Well, it's very hard to find a place, so we're just going to randomly pick one, and this is today's episode. Enjoy.
When we're young, we have an amazing, positive outlook about how great life is going to be, but somewhere along the line, we forget to dream and end up settling. Join Up Dots features amazing people who refuse to give up and chose to go after their dreams. This is your blueprint for greatness. So here's your host, live from the back of his garden in the UK, David Ralph.
Yes, hello there everybody and welcome to Join Up Dots. It's episode 420. It's David Ralph and I'm feeling all enthusiastic because we've got a guy who really has had a journey today and he's going to be sharing his journey on the show. He is a man who can call himself a global mindset coach with clients across the world who seek him out to help them go to the next level, from entrepreneurs, world champions, professional sports athletes, even up to royal family. They've all benefited from his skill. But what fascinates me is coming from Liverpool in the United Kingdom, he would no doubt have found himself surrounded with friends and families who are just kind of looking to get by. He would have been on a path like so many of us that is almost expected. Study hard, leave school, get a job, start a family, you get the drift. But our guest didn't do that. Instead, he left everything behind and travelled to Sydney, Australia, where he discovered NLP, Neuro Linguistic Programming, in a sales and marketing environment. And to say he was successful at that is an understatement, and he soon found himself moving over to New Zealand and being headhunted. Now, in New Zealand, he began to share his skills not with sheep, but with CEOs, and again, being in high demand, and was prospected to many companies, helping them develop their sales teams and set up internal departments. Now, it gets even better because he's only at age 26 at this point. He opens a company developing a project to build $100 million resort in the Fiji Islands, and after marketing the company over in Dubai alongside multi-billion dollar developments, the global real estate industry began to slow down and he had a decision to make. After so much success, would he batten down the hatches and go into survival mode, or would he do the unexpected and actually get bigger, opening his arms wide and screaming, "Come on, world, it's me, just watch what I can do"? Well, let's find out as we bring onto the show to start joining up dots with the one and only Mr. UK himself, Andy Murphy. How are you, Andy?
How are you, sir? You made me sound amazing.
Well, actually, when I said you're Mr. UK, I suddenly thought, oh, that sounds like you're some kind of like sex model, but you're not. You haven't won that yet.
It sounds a bit stripperish, doesn't it, mate? It does sound a little bit.
Have you seen Magic Mike 3 or whatever it is? Because my wife
I have not, mate. I have not. I've been trying to take my girl, but she just doesn't want to go. Don't know what's wrong.
Well, my wife went and she thoroughly enjoyed it, and she's laying on a sofa with a wet flannel on her head for about 3 weeks after that. So I don't know what that's all about. But what do you do in your life when you aren't being Andy Murphy consulting man, motivating people? What do you actually do to sort of just rest?
I like to go and hang out on the beach, mate. I just moved to like 3 weeks ago. I was supposed to come back to the UK, but it's getting a bit cold there, so I decided not to. I decided to go and live by the beach here in Florida for 3 months.
And can you do that? Can you naturally choose your location? Is your entrepreneurial success determined on being in a position, or can you just go wherever you want?
I can be in any country I want, at any time I want, and I always earn fantastic money. That was the intention. It was, I've been through some rough times, and it was interesting that you said it was even in that intro. It's interesting listening to you telling it again, because there was a moment, like you was talking about this $100 million resort, and all of that's absolutely true, and it was a massive moment in my life. But what was not in that intro was that the decision was that when I came back from Dubai, the project was going fantastic, but the real estate market turned, right? That's what you said. Then what happened was my business partner decided it was a great idea to steal all my money, send me into bankruptcy, send me into a nervous breakdown and chronic depression. That's what's not said. And then from there, basically, I went from 26, 27 years old, having perceived a good life. You know, I was working 2 days a week and then a few grand a day. I had a professional model as a girlfriend, beautiful house, second 5 Series BMW, and went from that to basically living in the basement of a gym and training and fighting, because I do mixed martial arts every day. So that was a huge shift, you know?
So how do you overcome that? Certainly when you're at your younger age, you feel that the path is always going to be going up. If you're on the ascendancy, it's going to be naturally hustle driven and you will get to where you go. When you get to that point in Dubai, and it's interesting, I've recorded 7 shows today and you're the 3rd person who have told me that they set up a business in Dubai and their business manager screwed them over. So it's not where I'm going to take Join Up Dots. I promise you, I've learned that from now. And I'm not going to do it. So when you get to that point and you're still a young man and you are, you know, cat with a cream and it gets taken away, do you just sort of brush yourself down and go again, or do you need a period of mourning to really sort of set yourself up for the next stage?
That's a beautiful question, buddy. You know, you do need some mourning, and you absolutely do. And anyone that tells you you just got to dust yourself off and pick yourself up and keep fighting, that's a very British mentality. And you know what? That's also, it's not being authentic, it's not being real, and it's also BS. It's not true. Guess what? Men cry, things hurt, and we all get sad. And I haven't met a single person, no matter who I've worked with, as I say, from Saudi Arabian royalty to people who are earning $10-20 million a year to anybody else. We're all just human. And we all go ups and downs, and we all have highs and lows. And guess what? The difference is right there. There was a moment in my life, David, and I'll explain that last little, that bit, that pinnacle moment that shifted me and kicked my butt forwards. It was interesting because I sat there. I remember the scene. I remember it really, really well. And I couldn't afford rent and couldn't afford much food. And that's the absolute truth. And I was sitting there and I said to myself, Andy, do you know what? You're brilliant at what you've done. You've done NLP and sales. That's all I started out with. It was sales for 5 or 6 years. You're one of the top in the country. You've seen over 2,000 people face to face. Yet you can't even afford food. What's this about? What is it right now? If you could create your life again, what do you want? And I remember this little voice kicked in my head, my intuition kicked in, if you want to call it that. And I literally sat down and remember, I see the scene so vividly still, David. And I sat there and went, what's my perfect day? What is my perfect day? And I remember writing every single out. And this image is still burnt into my mind. And then I wrote, what are the top 10 things that would excite me the most to do every day? And I wouldn't even give a damn if I got paid for it. And you know what that did? That started to point my mind in a different direction. It started to give me hope. And from there, I basically made a decision. I can keep doing what I'm doing. Guess what? How's that working out for me? Not too well. And so, or I can, then we dust myself off. And then we start driving forwards. But guess what? Driving forwards is not like a movie. It's so funny when I talk to people and they watch a movie and they're all pumped up. But guess what? That 90-minute movie, the guy and the character in there, that's spaced over like 3 years or something, right? But everyone gets pumped up and thinks everything's going to come to them rapidly and instantly. It doesn't work like that. It's the neural nets, your unconscious mind or your brain or whatever the hell you want to call it, the software in your head, works just like a muscle. And guess what? You can go to the gym for 3 months, lift every day. You think you're all big and strong and looking good. Yet nobody says a damn word to you about it, right? And then suddenly you keep training, you keep pushing. And then that person says to you, damn, what have you been doing? Well, guess what? That's the same with building business. That's the same with building life. It's a case of just working out what you want and just understanding that it's going to be hard. Understanding that there's going to be emotional roller coasters, ups and downs and everything. But at the end of the day, what else are you going to do? What else are you going to do? Sit there and not do it?
Yeah, but the problem is, Andy, and this goes out to the listeners, more often than not, we don't want to know that. We don't want to know that it's going to be hard. We want to have either the overnight success, or we want to look at the perceived overnight success as a reason why it's not worth doing it. So many people will put themselves in a position, they will look at somebody like you and go, oh, it's all right for Andy. He's a young man. He's got a good head of hair. He's English. You always get attractive people from England. He's got it nailed. What's the point in me even doing it? That is the sort of sticking point, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. And by the way, I lost my hair through that. I just bought some new hair. But it's yes, all that's true. All of that's true. But guess why? That's the point. That's society. Society is a very, very clever business. And if you want to look at it, it's a media. The media is a very clever business. And they train people to understand, to get the get-rich-quick schemes, or the next shiny object syndrome. And guess what? They only show the stories of when people have made it, become successful. They don't ever show that someone crying in the middle of the night because they can't handle the life and it's overwhelming and stressful. They don't show that bit. They just show the shiny bit at the end. But guess what? The people that have achieved, they go through all of this pain, suffering, stress, overwhelm, anxiety. That's just normal life. But the difference is what you do with it and how long you allow it to stay inside of you becomes your choice. And that might sound something, oh yeah, Andy can say that because. I can say that because I've been through a lot of crap. And you always have a choice. That's what my whole point to your listeners out there, there's always a choice. You don't have to be where you are. If you're in a relationship that isn't working for you, guess what? You can settle for it, or you can decide that this life is very short. There is no actual rules to it. Just because we're told there isn't any rules to it. And you can truly have anything that you want. But guess what it requires? You working your butt off to get it.
Well, let's play some words now that really sort of emphasize what we're talking about. And it's from a classic film character, but I think it's for a fighter like you, it's going to say so much. Rocky Balboa.
You, me, or nobody is going to hit as hard as life. But it ain't about how hard you hit. It's about how hard you can get hit and keep moving forward. How much you can take and keep moving forward. That's how winning is done.
Now, you're a fighter. You're a fighter, a physical fighter. You get in a cage and you slap people around. And you're also, it seems to me, you're an emotional fighter. You're willing to brush yourself down and get going. You're sort of find yourself on your knees and then rally yourself and go again. Does that come from your childhood? Because Liverpool, in many ways, is a very tight-knit community. It's a society that protects its own. Do you find a lot of your mental strength has come from there or because of it?
That's a beautiful question again, mate. It's funny that you've done 420 podcasts. It's funny that. It's absolutely, my friend. It really is. And you know what? I always say this, and this might be contradictory to a lot of people out there, but I can honestly say school taught me basically nothing. And that sounds a crazy statement, and I mean that, and I can say that. What taught me was life, and what taught me was martial arts. Martial arts taught me the discipline. Martial arts taught me to be able to read myself and other people. Martial arts taught me to push through circumstances. And it also taught me to if you get hit on the chin, you have a choice. You can stand back up and keep fighting, or you can lay down. Guess what happens when you lay down? Everyone just doesn't remember you. That's where it ends. Or you keep fighting. And you don't know if you're going to win. You don't know. But my point is, what you're going to do, you're going to lay down or you're going to keep walking forwards. And I love what that little clip that you just played, buddy. I love it because it is like that. But there is a difference. And I've had to learn this over the last 5 years. Life isn't about fighting. It's not. You have to have the fighter's heart. But life is about flow. And life is you're supposed to work hard, but you're supposed to flow through it. Still working hard in the direction that you want, but you must flow through it, because otherwise we get caught up in these high highs or these low lows. And at the end of the day, that doesn't do any good for anybody. It doesn't bring out the world-class version of you or the best version of you. It distracts you from moving forwards.
So when you were in Liverpool and you were either supporting the Mighty Reds or the Blues, which ones did you fall into?
I fell into the Reds. And again, like what you say about Liverpool, I didn't have a choice. I didn't have a choice. That was what you got taught.
So it was Kenny Dalglish all the way as you were growing up, as the inspiration. So you're supporting the Reds at their glory, or probably coming to the end of their glory, and you are looking at something in your own life, but you've got no idea how it's going to pan out. Do you decide to support your friends, your colleagues, or did you separate yourself from your friends and colleagues to be able to make that break to go off to Australia? Because I imagine that so many of you would have been sitting round in pubs going, oh, I want to do this, I want to do... No, you won't, Andy. No, you won't. You'll be here in 5 years' time. So how did you separate yourself from that environment that is pretty much community and football all the way, or soccer, as they say in America?
Yeah, that's that, and it really is like that, and that's again another brilliant question. And yes, you do, because if you're around in an environment that is just supporting your old beliefs, then you get stuck. It's plain and simple. You get stuck, and basically, this is what changed. I didn't really travel much ever when I was younger. I went on a couple of holidays. My mum and dad didn't have much money. You know, my mum's a nurse, dad was an electrician. Didn't have much money, just helping us like survive and grow up. So I didn't travel, didn't know anything. But I knew one thing. I didn't want to be like everybody else. And I didn't even understand that was about money or success. Or I just had this thing inside of me. I just didn't want to be like everyone else.
Yeah, but what was everybody else to you, Andy, at that point? When you were looking round, you didn't want to be like them, but how did you see them? What was their thing?
Boring. It was like, I just saw everyone doing the same thing, going to a job that they didn't like, sticking with a relationship that they didn't really enjoy, and just getting older and older and less healthy. And just everyone's moaning about their circumstances, but no one's ever doing anything about it because they're always too scared. So everyone kept dreams in their head about what they would want to do. Everyone would talk about these things, but no one would ever do it because they were so afraid of that if they did try it, it might not work out. So it's easier to stay inside your little imagination rather than actually living that type of life. And I just didn't want that, and I'd never been introduced to money. When I left school, there was no jobs in Liverpool, no jobs. I would think I was a professional dishwasher in restaurants for many years, for many years. I've done every job you can possibly imagine. And then what the big shift was me, I was with my girlfriend at the time I was with for like 4 years, and she had relatives in Australia. And I was working in a car factory. Surprise, surprise, that's what you do in Liverpool, right? And I was working in this car factory, and I started to earn a little bit of money. It was only a couple of £100 a week, but that was still more than I had earned before. And I saved up, and I went to Australia, and we went for a month. And as I was leaving Australia, again, life's about decisions. Everything's about decisions. You hit T-junctions or forks in the road, and the decision that you make next leads you in a certain direction. And I came back from there, and I was like, I have no idea how I'm getting back there, but I know I'm getting back there. I know I am going back to Australia. That time, working in a car factory, no money, didn't have a clue how. But right then, I knew somehow, some way, that now that was my focus. I'd seen the beaches. I'd seen the lifestyle. And to me, that changed my world because I knew that life was out there. And then I went back to Liverpool where everyone was moaning and it was cold and it was wet and people were broke. And then just drinking and watching football, thinking that's life. But I saw a different world. And now I knew that there was a different way to live. And that was it. So what I did, this was an interesting story. And this is, again, my determination. I'd said to myself, okay, I know IT, computers, was a booming industry at the time. I'd never even used a computer, David. I'd never even double-clicked a mouse. And that's no joke. Never even double-clicked a mouse. And I knew I wanted to get into IT. Why? So I could earn good money and travel. And basically, didn't have money to buy a computer. So I got all these books, borrowed these books, Microsoft certified, like exam books and stuff, and just went, okay, well, after work, I am going to study. And I studied and studied. I failed that Microsoft exam, I think it was 7 times or 8 times. And then I passed it. And then I went for interview after interview after interview after interview after interview. No experience. All I knew was books. And I taught myself into a job because they saw my passion. And then I got in that job and 18 months went by. And I was bored. So bored. Because there was no room for the growth in the business. I didn't really like computers. I was just earning money. But it was in that job again. I saw people with lots of money because I was very lucky and worked for a very rich company. So again, these things started to show me different sides of life. And then what happened was my boss was going to fire me. Plain and simple. And he liked me, but he knew I was starting to cause chaos because I just wasn't listening to people because I was bored. And then he said, you know what I'll do? I'm going to give you 3 months money. 3 months. You go and get the qualifications that you need and go and get the job that you can, because you can't progress in this company because it's full basically. So I went, really? I'm going to Australia. And that is what took me to Australia at 24 years old. And within 6 weeks of making that decision, I studied my butt off again, got another qualification, this time passed it first time and got 97% or something, and then went to Australia. Didn't know anyone, didn't have a job, and just jumped in. Because all I knew was that I just wanted to be there. And I didn't know how, I didn't know what. And how it worked was, to cut a long story short, that's how I got into NLP. I never got into IT, got into sales, and I was very lucky who I was taught by. I was taught by American guys, and they were the top guys in the world. And from there, the rest is history. But again, has any of my life been smooth? No, not a single day. Not a single moment, not ever. But there's a difference. To me, business and making money isn't about business and making money. It's got nothing to do with it. It's about who I become through the journey to get to where I want to go. So it's really about business. To me, is like a mirror to show me how I'm evolving, how I'm growing in life. And the more I do that, the more that life becomes nicer and nicer. And now, as I say, over the last 5 years, really, I can be anywhere I want to be in the world and do whatever I want.
But the brilliant thing about that story, and I didn't butt in because there was a natural flow to it, was it's your awareness. It's your awareness of possibilities. It's your awareness of your own inner possibilities, what you can actually do. The fact that you knew you weren't very good at IT, but you knew that you had enough to be able to study and sort of take it to the next level. I had a gentleman on the show back on episode 178 called Jeff Thompson, who is from
the UK, martial arts guy?
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
I know him, yeah. I know him. I've trained with him.
Oh, yeah. Right, okay, yeah. So he's he was a marvellous guest, and he was telling me this story about awareness, and he had this very good sort of analogy of sitting in a warehouse, pitch black, not being able to see anything at all, and you open your eyes and you're in this black room, and so you just sit there because you don't want to move because you don't know whether you're going to fall into a hole or you're going to sort of stumble or whatever, so you just sit there rooted to the spot. And after about 15 minutes, somebody somewhere opens a fridge and you suddenly see there's a bit of light over there, so you crawl over to the fridge and you leave the door open, and suddenly the glow sort of spreads slightly and you can start to make out the room. And as he was describing it, he was saying those things were always around you, you just couldn't see them until somebody shone the light on it. And if you shine enough light, you'll see there's a door. and you can find your way to the door and open it up, and you're in a different world. Now, what people don't have more often than not is that awareness of looking around, assessing their own situation and going, yes, I am here, but there is actually a door there that can take me through to somewhere else. That is the difference between you, Jeff, and most people that I speak to. It's that personal awareness of possibilities. You don't know that it's going to work out, but you know that there's a chance, and you're willing to open that fridge and see what's there.
I love that analogy. And yeah, I met Jeff when I was 19 years old, actually in a bodyguarding seminar, a bodyguarding course, which was interesting. But yeah, Jeff was an amazing guy, and he's one of pioneer. But what that's interesting about that, again, martial arts, right? And I don't know what it is about that. I think it just pushes through boundaries. But I think that's also the same with martial arts. Is just one aspect, but that could be it could be soccer, it could be football. It's just, again, it could be anything. It's just a case of understanding that you don't have to be where you are. There is another world. And yes, to be skilled at anything requires a lot of work. But it's like learning any sport. If you want to learn tennis, guess what? Learning tennis is at the start, it just feels awkward, it feels unusual, it feels strange, you don't want to play, you're not even playing tennis, but then you keep playing tennis. And what happens? Oh, it becomes a bit easier, then you start to get better, and then eventually it starts to become natural and normal, and then you start playing tennis. That's the same thing with any new habits. That's the same with any new skills. That's the same with anything in your life. It's just, it requires people to understand that you're not going to be good at it straight away. Just like I failed that exam like 8 times. It's just, it takes time to learn anything. But unfortunately, society, if you want to call it whatever it is, programs us in a different way. The way we get instant information and instant gratification and instant from our phones and the internet, it's an amazing thing. But it's also, it's stopped us understanding that there is a learning curve to go through, no matter what you're trying to do in any area of your life.
Well, let's play some words now, and then we'll start the conversation again with you standing in Australia for the first time as a young man, looking around, thinking, what the hell am I going to do with myself now? This is Jim Carrey.
My father could have been a great comedian, but he didn't believe that was possible for him. And so he made a conservative choice. Instead, he got a safe job as an accountant, and when I was 12 years old, he was let go from that safe job, and our family had to do whatever we could to survive. I learned many great lessons from my father, not the least of which was that you can fail at what you don't want, so you might as well take a chance on doing what you love.
So what did you learn from your father, looking back, having a father who was raised in Liverpool and probably his dad would come from Liverpool as well? What's the kind of the traits that are inherently him that you've got, Andy?
Good ones or bad ones?
whatever is defining of you.
Right. My dad was, again, that's where I got my martial arts from, was from my dad. But my dad has never ever got his mind in the right place. He's always blamed other people. It's something I don't do. I take full responsibility. And he's also, with him, he taught me from a young age to focus on the worst case scenario. That's what he used to teach me. Focus on what's the worst possible thing that can happen, because if you know that, then you're safe. Well, to me, that doesn't quite work. You need to be aware of what the worst case is, but your focus is on the big picture. So with my dad, what I got from him was strength. That's my dad. He was a fighter in his heart, because he grew up in a really rough environment in Liverpool, just a million times worse than me. He had nothing. But what he did, he was always kept pushing. So I know I get that from my dad. He just won't stop. He won't give up. He will keep moving forwards. And I know I get my strength from my dad like that. And everything else, I think it's just me learning more about myself and trying things and seeing if you like it, don't like it, if you're good at it, or you're not, and not being afraid to fail, because I watched my dad, who was a great martial artist, but again, you got beat. Everyone gets beat. And no matter how good I was, and I was on the under-21s England team, the England squad in karate when I was growing up, and no matter how good I thought I was, someone would come along and go, bink, and you'd beat you. And what that taught you was that losing, it doesn't really mean anything. It doesn't mean anything. It's not the end of the world. Who cares? You know, we all get beat. But again, like that Rocky thing you said before, it's just how many times, it's the lessons you learn about yourself when you do get beat at something that give you the strength to move forwards now. That's the difference that makes the difference. It's like a world champion, right? You tell them, when I work with like real high level world champions, you're telling me that they just go in on race day and win? No, of course they don't. There's ups and downs and injuries and sicknesses and tired days and awesome days and all of this. They lose races, they win races, they lose races. But what's that got to do with anything else about your life? It's about who you become from those experiences that change everything. And to me, I learned, I think, at an early age, it doesn't matter how good I think I am, there's always somebody better. So I've always got to keep improving. And when you lose, who cares? What do you do next?
But you come from an environment, Liverpool is famous for, you know, football. It's not life or death. It's more than that. You know, that is how it was always phrased.
Oh, absolutely.
So how do you leave that behind? I'm fascinated about that moment in your teenage life where you've had that programming for 15, 16, 17 years, but you had that mental strength to go, no, I'm breaking free from that. Because it's the hardest thing, isn't it? Familiarity is the hardest thing to actually sever.
Yes, certainty. It creates certainty. And all it is I always felt like I was a little bit different anyway. And I mean that in the case of when my friends were out doing crazy stuff, I was out going to do martial arts. So I always knew I was a little bit different. Then I come out and hang out afterwards. But it was always a little bit different. And probably most people out there listening to this are a little bit different too, because you wouldn't be listening to this. You wouldn't be listening to David if you weren't different, because you'd be down the pub watching football or whatever you're going to do.
Yeah.
You wouldn't be sitting there listening to this podcast. So you're already different. So realize that, first of all. If you're different, then it's time to work out what different life you want. And is it hard? Yes. But guess what? I trust something inside of myself, and I know everyone listening can relate to this. I trust this little voice, this little intuition. And this is how I literally bounce countries, careers, all the rest of it. It's trusting this little guidance system that I have in me. When it feels right, I mean it feels, I'm excited by it, then I trust it's right. When my stomach goes, ugh, it feels horrible, but my head's going, you know you've got to do that. You know you've got to go to work. You know you've got to meet that person. You know you've got to do that. But my stomach is like, ooh, no, I really don't want it. But my head's saying yes. I won't do it. And really, that to most people, they'll go, oh, I've got to go and do it. I never did. And that's just become, that pattern has just become built more and more and more and more. And so was it hard to leave? Yes. That's why I had to do it quickly. That's why I didn't listen to anybody else's opinion. I didn't listen to all the doubters. Like, my friends thought I'd be back within 6 weeks. All of my friends. And then suddenly 6 months went by. Then a year went by. Then 2 years went by. And they're like, oh my God, he's still not back. But I didn't listen to them. I didn't listen to their doubts, their fears. Nothing to do with mine. That's their issues. That's their problems. They just become jealous. And what you find is, as you move forward, you're going to get more resistance from everybody else because they want to pull you back down to them, to their level. Why? Because they don't feel bad about them not moving forwards in their life. But if you've got this feeling and this pull inside of you, then you need to listen to that. You need to listen to that. You need to do something different to what everyone else does. It's like someone, like we talked about at the very, very start, like The people that you see in the media or on TV or even myself, whatever you relate to me, it's a case of, oh, he's already done it. Well, the point is, everyone starts at the same place. And we're all born and we're all going to die. We're all on this life's journey. And so at the end of the day, it's what we do next. I always relate it back to, it's a bit of a cheesy thing, but it's also the truth. Like I've gotten in this Oprah kick over the last 12 months for some bizarre reason. And her autobiography is called What I Know For Sure. And again, what it does is it shows you that everything you've been through is nothing. Because that lady came from the worst of the most horrible circumstances you can possibly imagine. And she still built that life. So when you read autobiographies, when you immerse yourselves in amazing things, then your mind starts to build those neurological patterns. It starts to emulate them. It's called mirror neurons. But what that does is it starts to learn those habits and behaviors. So I always describe it like this, David. Remember, I hung around with crazy people when I was growing up. I also hung around with athletes. And there's a very different mindset between an athlete and someone who's just doing random stuff every day. And at the end of the day, what you do, I look at it like this. If you've never drank a day in your life, right, and you go and hang around with people who drink or alcoholics, guess what you're going to do? You're going to start drinking. If you have never trained a day in your life but go and hang around with athletes, guess what's going to happen? You're going to start training. Take it to an extreme level. You went and hung around with billionaires, guess what? You might not become a billionaire, but you're going to be well on your way. And why, though? Well, it's because of the conversations, the opportunities, the beliefs. They reinforce whatever the conversation is. If you're hanging around with people who drink, what are you talking about? Drinking. If you're hanging around with athletes, what you're talking about? Sports and being fit. If you're hanging around with entrepreneurs, guess what you're talking about? So for you, for everyone out there, your immediate people that you're surrounding yourself with having a massive effect on you. So part of what I would do was value my time so much that I would only be around the people that I wanted to be around, that made me happy, supported me, and moved me forwards. And that was one of the biggest things I did to get me out of Liverpool, because I started to actually, it was interesting. I didn't even think about this. I actually moved out of Liverpool for maybe 2 months before I left. And I was a lot of time on my own. And that's when I left that other job. That's when I started studying. And that's when I made the decision to go. Because there was no one around me saying, oh, you can't do that.
Yeah. And that's the transition, isn't it? That is the amazing thing. I used to say that I used to be a manager up in the city of London. And I used to say to people, if you want to move from that team, don't sit with them. Move to the end of the desk or move to another desk. Start moving yourself away, because number one, mentally, you'll be ready for that transition. And they will be thinking, right, you've moved off anyway, so they won't keep on dragging you back. So what you did there, you did a brilliant thing of actually separating yourself from those crabs, the bucket of crabs that drag you back time and time again. Even though when you're on your own, and I'm going to bring on one of my mates now because she hangs around me all the time. So this is Oprah, but she's got a great statement about being on your own, but not knowing the next step to make, but just listening to yourself. Here's Oprah.
The way through the challenge is to get still and ask yourself, what is the next right move? Not think about, oh, I got all of this stuff. What is the next right move? And then from that space, make the next right move and the next right move. And not to be overwhelmed by it, because you know your life is bigger than that one moment. You know you're not defined by what somebody says is a failure for you, because failure is just there to point you in a different direction.
Because my family, Andy, think I'm a bit weird, I think, because when I'm working, I work very, very hard. But when I go back into the house where it's lifetime, most of them, my son's on his tablet, my daughter's on something, and my wife's watching television, more often than not, I will just sit in a chair and not do anything. And they go, well, aren't you going to put music on? Aren't you going? And I go, no, I'm just quite happy being here. And it's what Oprah's saying. It's giving yourself that chance to separate yourself from your work, your task, and your future. It's that kind of middle ground to allow those thoughts to push you forward, isn't it?
Absolutely. And it's the more over the years, especially the last 13 years, what I've discovered with a lot of high-level people, a lot of world-class people, and you doing exactly the same, David, it's they spend a lot of time on their own. They do. Because that's where you reflect. That's where you get a new perspective. That's where you get the aha moments. It's not when you're around constant distraction. It's not when you're around constant conversation or noise. It's those moments where you can get clarity that your life changes. And it is. And a lot of the people try and stay away because they don't understand pain. Pain to me, it's a great thing. You know why it's a great thing? Because to me, the universe is just going, guess what? Does that hurt? Right. Do you want to keep staying there hurting yourself? Or do you want to go back to what feels good? So when something's horrible and it doesn't feel nice and it's painful, you probably want to pay attention to it and make a different choice. And then it's working out what you want, why you want it, how you're going to get there, and who you've got to become to achieve it.
Yeah, but more often than not, Andy, the problem is when you get to the pain is when you take action, exactly as you say. But more often than not, I know that my listeners, they are in a job and they can pay their bills and they're bored and they're looking around wanting more. But it's not too bad to do anything. The amount of them that have come through emails and conversations and stuff, and guests as well, that say to me, when I got sacked, it was the best thing that ever happened to me because suddenly I wasn't comfortable. I had to do something about it. And they all look back at those moments of extreme pain as actually the big dots in their join up dots timeline that take them forward. But they had to have that forced on them because comfort is the big C word, isn't it? It's the killer of dreams.
It is. It is. I think I was always used to pain, doing martial arts. I think I was always used to it, so it wasn't scary. And most people try and stay away from pain, but they stay in the middle rather than going towards pleasure. They stay in that freeze bit in the middle, and so the pain's not quite bad enough, but the pleasure's not quite big enough. So they stay in that middle. For me, it was I don't know. It never scared me. And so, because it never scared me, well, that's not true. I should actually, I'll take that completely back to a different way. I'm scared every single day. How's about that for you listeners? And I haven't met a single person in my life at any level ever who I've coached or know that isn't scared at some point during the day. But there's a difference. You telling me that person going up to do that world-class race isn't scared to death? Of course they are. But what do you do next? It's the same with pain. Okay, it's not quite bad, and I'll settle. And that's what you find a lot of people. I go back to Liverpool, and it's like a time machine. Everyone's still doing the same thing, having the same conversations, drinking in the same pubs, doing the same routine, and that feels really, really comfortable because everyone else around them is doing that too, so they think that's normal. But it is normal, but it's not my normal, and it doesn't have to be their normal. It doesn't have to be you listeners' normal. But at that moment right then, it's a case of what I like to do is forwards the movie. And what I mean by that is if you're sitting in a job that's boring or you just know there's a different life, well, okay, if you keep doing what you're doing, if you forward that out 5 years, how's that going to work out for you?
Consequential thinking.
Yeah, exactly. And so then it's like, well, okay, I don't know what other options are, but let's write some few options down. Option 1, option 2, option 3, option 4. Cool. Well, I don't know how I'm going to do that, but if I did do that, what type of life would it give me? And then all you do, that's business, that's anything. What are the possibilities? Well, I don't know how I'm going to do these. Right, but which one feels right? Which one can you do? Well, I'd love to do that, but I just don't know how to. I'll just stay over here. Sure, you can stay over there. Stay there, forwards that movie, How's that working out for you? Right, you've got to make a change. So what are the options? Right, okay, option 1, forwards the movie. Option 2, option 3. That's all it is.
And that's what Oprah was saying, isn't it? Really, right. That's exactly what Oprah's saying.
Exactly. And hey, who's better to know too much about how to work this world than Oprah, right? She's got it pretty nailed.
Well, Oprah's one of those strange characters, really, that until this job that I'm doing now, she never really come into my world. She used to be on sort of like in the afternoon on some kind of weird channel in the UK. And to be honest, if she was on, I would just turn it off. Wasn't interested in the slightest. But through this, you kind of see these people in a different way. And it's not that they have nailed it by luck. It isn't that they've nailed it by personality. It's so much more than that, and they realise it. That's the key thing that I've got out of it. She realises that she's not the finished article even now, which makes her so impressive. And when you see all the people that are doing their thing and they're going for it time and time again, they're trying to improve. It's like going back to Liverpool again. You look at someone like Paul McCartney. Now, Paul McCartney is in his 70s, and many people will say, Paul, you should stop. Now, I'm a great fan of the Beatles, and I love Wings, and I love Paul McCartney work, but you can't dispute that his voice is not what it was when he was a 30-year-old. But inside him, he's still going for that Hey Jude. He's going for that yesterday. He's going for something. And is that what separates these people, that even when they've got their millions and they've got their profile and they've got their performance that people love, they're still willing to put themselves out there to go again? They're willing for people to say, you're not as good as you used to be. They keep on going.
Yeah, exactly, because there's a strategy or a way of thinking or a mindset that got them there originally. And so basically that's them. And what gives them the purpose of living is that. It's that drive. Otherwise, what they're going to do? You're going to stop and do nothing in life? No, they're still going to put it out there, but there's a difference. The difference is they don't really give a damn what anyone else thinks, because all they can do is their best at the time. And it's coming from an organic way. It's coming from the heart, if you want to use that. It's coming from inside of them, and all they're doing is expressing this. Well, to me, that's all life is. It's just you're just supposed to express and what's inside of you. And like an entrepreneur, to me, an entrepreneur's mindset is what you can imagine. How can you pull it out into this world and make it physical? And that's all it is, because every single thing that's ever been created by a human started in their imagination. Now, people who don't understand our world, David, think that the imagination is just a plaything. It's nothing. Well, guess what? It's not that. It's very, very real. When you have an experience in your mind and you might get the aha moment, that's as real as touching a floor or a car. It's real. So when you start to understand this about the conscious, unconscious mind and all these patterns and how we're wired together and how everything's connected to chemicals and cells, and we can even go into quantum physics and all this other stuff. But at the end of the day, it's why are you doing this? And for them, their purpose in life is to express what excites them. And at the end of the day, that is their big tick. That's their bucket list. That's what keeps them moving forward. That's why probably he'll live to a long, long age. It's simply because he keeps doing what makes him feel good.
So when does Andy Murphy realise that he's just written Hey Jude? When do you know that you've actually gone up a level to what you've done before?
Really nice question. When I'm happier. When I'm content, more content, meaning I'm not stressed. It means the result. If I'm working on bring more clients in, or build this academy, or build more the podcast, or whatever it is, when I see the result, then I know I've stepped up a level. If I don't see that result, then I don't go, oh, I suck. No. I go, what do I need to do to solve the problem to get to where I want to go? If I'm overwhelmed and anxious, I don't sit in that overwhelm and anxious. I catch that pattern and go, okay, how can I move through this? What do I need to know about myself that if I did would help me let go of this situation? Or what is it about myself? Or another way to look at it is, what would the future version of me say to myself right now? And that is a perspective change. And that perspective change actually encodes the unconscious mind a different way. Again, that's in your imagination. Your life begins in your imagination. The challenge becomes coming from somewhere like Liverpool that they didn't expand your imagination. I remember, I've told this story many times, but I remember last few months of school, and we had a careers officer. And this careers officer came in, and he had folders and folders of all these jobs and apprenticeships and everything. I sat there for about an hour or so and went up to him and went, I don't want to do any of that. What else can I do? And he looked at me and he went, well, that's it. And I said, no, I don't want to do any of that. What else can I do with my life? And he basically ignored me and went to somebody else. Nobody even said to me, oh, you can do sales. Happens to be the most sought after profession in the world, but no one ever said that to me. No one even asked me, Andy, what do you like? What do you enjoy? No one even said it.
Because he hadn't opened his fridge, though, had he? That was his problem. He wasn't aware.
That was why he was a careers officer.
Yeah. Well, they are. They're so dreary, nondescript. I remember my careers officer, and I think I said, and you've got to be in the 80s to remember this, but I was very heavily influenced by, like, the Thompson twins and Nick Kershaw and people like that. And I used to have my keyboards, and I still play the piano now, but me and my mate, we were going to be the next big thing. And that's all I wanted to do. I wanted to be the next big thing. And we used to sit there every night and write songs and all that kind of stuff. And when I sat down with the career advisor, he said, work in a bank. And it was like, what? You don't realise I'm going to be on top of the pops. This is going to be Wembley Stadium, mate. I'm not going to work in a bank. And he just couldn't see it because his awareness of possibilities didn't sort of coexist with mine. It wasn't dovetailing because I had a totally different reality. It was like there was a mirror and he was on one side seeing something and I was on the other.
It's hysterical. It's crazy because that's how dreams get squashed. But the difference is some people get told that and then they go, well, whatever, I'm going to do it anyway. Some people go, oh, okay, that's how it is. Okay, I'll just stay here and be defeated. And that's why someone becomes Elon Musk or Steve Jobs and someone doesn't. It's the difference is other people are going to say many things to you because they can't see what's through your eyes. And they also can't see what's your future. It starts with inside of you. And when you can open your imagination to infinite possibilities, if you could take the boundary off what's possible and you could write this next chapter of your life, what would somebody want? Well, guess what? Like I said about hanging around with billionaires or athletes or whatever it is, the amount of times, David, that like even in California, you know, I've lived in Australia, New Zealand, Bali, California, Florida, UK, and even in California, because I first got there, I bankrupt. I turned down a job in Hong Kong, by the way, to work for one of the largest real estate developers in the world, and borrowed money. This was when I was bankrupt in New Zealand. Borrowed money and flew to LA for 5 days. Why? Because I trusted my intuition. Then came back and then just made it happen. But the amount of times I got to LA, didn't know anyone, didn't have a job, nothing like that. The amount of times I just got in a car and would drive for 2 + 3 hours to go for a cup of coffee with somebody that I knew could help me move forwards. It would just be, some days I'd spend 10, 12 hours days driving just to be around certain people that I felt could help me so I could help them. And that's the difference, right? That's the difference.
You had faith in yourself, and you've mentioned this man just previously, but it's a powerful statement that he made over 10 years ago, and it became the whole theme to what has become Join Up Dots. So let's bring him on. This is Steve Jobs.
Of course, it was impossible to connect the dots looking forward when I was in college, but it was very, very clear looking backwards 10 years later. Again, you can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards. So you have to trust that the dots will somehow connect in your future. You have to trust in something, your gut, destiny, life, karma, whatever. Because believing that the dots will connect down the road will give you the confidence to follow your heart even when it leads you off the well-worn path, and that will make all the difference.
Well, you had that faith, the fact that you would drive 3 hours just for a cup of coffee with someone and you didn't know it was going to pan out. When you look back on everything, is there a big dot in your life that really was the moment that the Andy Murphy that we're speaking to now separated himself from the Andy Murphy that was growing up in Liverpool?
Interesting question. It was funny. Yes, there's many moments, but the main one was interesting. I remember being in Australia, and I'd been in there 3 weeks, and I remember standing outside a hotel, and I had my bags all pushed against the wall. I was leaning against the bags. I was standing there, postured up, just looking and watching and staring at everybody, just clocking every single person, making sure I was safe, making sure my bags were safe. Liverpool, right? And then I caught myself and went, I'm the only one doing this. What am I doing? And at that moment, it was like a huge weight had been dropped off me, because I didn't have to be aggressive. I didn't have to be protective anymore. And that was like a massive pinnacle moment in my life where I realized that I was changing.
When you look back at that, though, was it a mystical moment? Was it a moment that you tangibly could feel, or is it only now you look back on it and you go, yeah, that was my big dot?
Well, I look at it back now, realizing how big it was of a moment. But at the time, I knew it impacted me in a different way. I knew it changed my view of the world, so I could relax. And I'd never been able to do that before. I was constantly on fight mode, constantly protecting, constantly. So it wasn't, yes, that's hindsight. You don't know what the next thing is going to do for you. You don't know. You've just got to walk forwards to it and do your best.
It's a powerful statement to make, isn't it, when you do trust your gut. Now, we've all got a gut, and we've all got that little voice. And if you take all the speeches that we've heard today, and you brought them out of me, I think I've done the 4. So we've got Jim Carrey saying, you got to go for what you love. Take a risk on doing what you love. And then Rocky's saying, it's going to be rough, and you're going to be hit, and you can get up and you can go for it. With Oprah chipping in with, just look at the next step. Don't worry about what you've got to do 5 years down the line. Just look at that next step. When you get yourself back on your feet because you've been punched in the face, just look at the next step. And then Steve Jobs chipping in with, have faith. And even if you don't know where you are, just have faith that it's going to join up and you are going to find yourself in that position. And the 4 of them, within maybe 3 minutes or whatever it would take to listen to those, that is your blueprint for success, isn't it? Those 4 speeches joined together literally can take you anywhere you want.
Absolutely. 100%. And then it's about, once you're aware of that, it's then doing something about it. And it's then understanding that they're not just words that they're saying, they're trying to explain to you that this is how they become who they become, because all the media is showing is the end result. And unfortunately, that's not the way it is. But what they're trying to show you is that, yes, we started where you are. And step by step, we led it towards this. Now, no one's telling everyone to be Oprah. No one's telling them to be Steve Jobs. But what we're trying to say to everybody, and including myself, is that we must be or work towards being the best version of us that we can possibly be. So we can look back at the end of our life and know that we've given everything we've got. Everything that we've got. Because I want no regrets in my life. None. And I do my best to give it everything I've got every day. And just help people and grow this and just evolve into the person that I know I truly am.
So just before we send you back in time on the end of the show, which is the Sermon on the Mic, where is Andy Murphy going? You've done so much in such a short period of time, but do you know, or is it literally day by day that you focus?
Oh, know exactly where I'm going. And I haven't even begun, David. That's the other thing, mate. I haven't even begun. I am just getting started. I'm 37 years old now, and I am just getting started. I know what I want to do that will make me happy. And, well, it makes me happy now. Each day makes me happy. And I'm learning that more and more, to be happy and content in the moment for sure. And my priorities changed over the last year because I have got my girl, that's my partner forever now, you know, and she makes me look at prioritize things a different way. So it's not about just me anymore. It's about the family. So that made me change things, but it also made me step up. It didn't make me step down and worry. It made me step up. So to me, the biggest picture is why I don't need motivation any day at all, ever, is because the picture of my future is being able to build my profile, build my internet marketing skills, build my business skills, so I can travel the world and find charities and people that need support, help, and then just grow their businesses, grow their charities, and so I can help hundreds of thousands of people. That's my mission. That's my goal. That's what I drive for, because I know inside my head that is ultimately my purpose. And because of that, then every day that I'm not doing that, well, I'm still building towards it. So even if that's not true, this is the other thing. Even if that's not true, even if that never happens, what does it do for me? It keeps me pulling me forward so I grow into the version of me that I know who I am, so I can be able to help all of those people.
Sometimes you get lost on the way to a dream and find a better one. I think that's what they say, isn't it?
Yeah, it's a beautiful, yeah, but it's true. And all of this is the thing about the thing people get confused about these memories or the way we're thinking about the future is I'm here to tell everyone, because I work with neural nets, I work with memories, I work with the unconscious mind. None of it's real. Not a single thing is real. It's like, yeah, and people out there going, yeah, but that past, that person that ripped me off, that was real. The person who hurt me in the past, that was real. Guess what? It was real for a moment, but that's it. It's like me, you, David, and some other cool people, we could all go out for dinner. I could interview everyone 2 weeks later. Everyone's got a completely different memory of that night. You know, the waitress was cute, the food was awesome, the music was too loud, whatever it is. So then you've got to ask yourself a question. What's real? Because you're thinking about that scenario being in that restaurant. Everyone's different. So what's real? What's real is the decision we make about it. And that's exactly the same as the way we think about the future. Because everything that we're thinking about the future, again, it's not real. It's just what we're thinking about the future. And when you understand these neural nets, this neurology works like a muscle, then the way you've been thinking, feeling, and acting, you've been pumping that muscle. So when you start designing the future, when you start designing what you want and who you are going to be in it, then you start to lift and pump this new muscle. And this new muscle, all you got to do is catch the old pattern, start firing the new one, the new thoughts and feelings, the new vision, and then this starts to build. The more you build it, the more this old version of you starts to shrink and go away, because that's called atrophy. That's what happens with muscles, and it happens also with neural nets.
Let's bring it to the end now. We could go on for 3 or 4 hours on this show. This is the part that we call the sermon on the mic, when we're going to send you back in time to have a one-on-one with your younger self. And if you could go back in time and speak to the young Andy, what advice would you like to give, and what age would you choose? Well, we're going to find out, because I'm going to play the theme, and when it fades, you're up. This is the sermon on the mic.
Here we go with the best bit of the show, the sermon on the mic, the sermon on the mic.
Hello, Andy. So you're 7 years old, hey? 7 years old. The whole world's in front of you. You know, your parents, they were just doing the best. That's all they were doing. They were just doing the best with the information that they had at the time. They were just trying to keep you safe, just trying to look after you. It wasn't their fault that they didn't understand about money. It wasn't their fault that their parents treated them like that. It wasn't their fault that they thought the world that they lived in was that small. But what would happen, I'm here to tell you, Andy, is that there are no rules to this life. And you deserve everything that you want. And with money, well, just because you come from no money doesn't mean you're different to people with money. So right now, if you understand and just do everything that makes you happy, and you work your butt off and understand that life is long, and you keep persisting, you're going to have the most beautiful, incredible life. So right now, be kind on yourself. Don't let these problems, stresses, these other people's opinions even concern you, because you're going to have a beautiful life. So be kind on yourself. And at the end of the day, you can only do your best. And so if you were to do anything in life, start allowing your imagination to expand, and who knows where you can be by the end of this journey. So give it everything you've got, be kind on yourself, and work your butt off, and you're going to have a beautiful, beautiful life.
Andy, what's the number one best way that our audience can connect with you, sir?
Yeah, there's two main ways. The best way, bud, is on my iTunes podcast. It's Mindset by Design. Another way is you just go to andymurphy.biz, or biz for you American folk out there. But that's the two ways you can contact me the best, and I'd love to connect and help anyone I can, sir.
Andy, thank you so much for spending time with us today, joining up those dots. Please come back again when you have more dots to join up, because I do believe that by joining up the dots and connecting our past is the best way to build our futures. Mr. Andy Murphy, thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
Are you ready to take your life to the next level and then the level after that, but are unsure how to proceed? Well, don't worry, as Join Up Dots coaching programs are developed to give you the skills, confidence and connections to fast track your life towards the future you want. With one-to-one sessions with qualified business coaches across the globe, action plans, group sessions and direct contact, that future is assured. Don't go it alone, but head over to Join Up Dots Coaching now.
David doesn't want you to become a faded version of the brilliant self you were once to become. So he's put together an amazing guide for you called the 8 Pieces of Advice that every successful entrepreneur practices, including the 2 that changed his life. Head over to joinupdots.com to download this amazing guide for free, and we'll see you tomorrow on Join Up Dots.